It's Ian from RTO. It's a Saturday, so if I'm on a Saturday, it's usually because I'm with Richard. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Ian. I hope it's as lovely weather as it is
Oh
here.
yeah, the ducks are having a good time here. It's just miserable as sin. It's only about 14 degrees here. Hence why I've got my rugby shirt on. I feel cold. I'm getting old. I mean, knees
I
playing up, all them ailments. So
I
yes,
got soaked
anyway.
at Sainsbury's.
It's, anyway, this one's a little bit different. We're going to do our favourite opening tracks from albums, top 10. No doubt there's some bubbling unders. I've got five today.
Three just.
Yeah, I've got five because I couldn't leave a couple out. So it's the first track of an album. Now, I think this is going to be different because I always, when I like opening tracks, they've got to be powerful. They've got to be punchy. I've got to get hooked in. There's no sloppy stuff. There's no ballads. It's all hard, heavy stuff. A lot of it is heavy. So this will be different because different
Hmm.
genres. So I'm looking forward to this one. So usual thing, Richard will go first, I will go second, and then we've got some bubbling unders. And I've got more than Richard this week because I don't know why. Okay, it's all over to you then.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have a few caveats here because I actually did this video about 3.5 years ago, and I did 20 of 20 different artists. So I'm not allowed to include any of those songs that I did 3 years ago. I'm also not allowing myself to include any of those artists, and I'm not allowing any singles. So many albums start with their first or second single. No singles in this, so these just have to be LP tracks, and I've never done them before on that previous video. So there's quite an eclectic bunch here actually, and I'm starting off at my number 10 from 1967, the Bee Gees and Turn of the Century from their Bee Gees first album, which is a very psychedelic album. It starts off with a very medieval feel, and then it goes into this harpsichord, which is great. Barry sings the first part, and then Barry and Robin sing together. It's highly melodic. That's always the number one for me. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful song. It's completely different to the Bee Gees you expect from Saturday Night Fever, but I think it's a brilliant song. As I say, very medieval feel with harpsichord, and it gets my number 10.
A good choice. Yeah, I actually like that one as well. I like tracks that start off with this grandeur sort of intro, even if it's 10 seconds, 15 seconds, doesn't matter what it is. It sort of builds up and then goes bang into your second track. So, and folks, we are allowing that on this, the little
Yes.
intros onto the thing. So, yeah, what a good choice. Now, my first one comes from 1986 and one of my favorite bands, one of the first heavy metal bands I got into, and it's Judas Priest, and it's from their album Turbo, the one where they sort of went a little bit different. A lot of fans don't like this, but the opening track on this is Turbo Lover. It's got this synthesizer guitar bit from Glenn Tipton. It's so like a revving of a thing. It's a great track there. It's heavy, and they use guitar synths on the solo, and they use it perfect. It's got one of the best solos, and they still do it, although it's not symphonic. It's still a great guitar solo. I'm sure you've never heard that track, but it's absolutely stunning. I love it. So that's why it's my number 10.
I have a feeling there's quite a few that I will never have heard of before, especially whenever you get into the heavy stuff. But that's our different tastes of music.
Yeah.
Well, my number 9 is from 1988, and it's Nick Lowe and You're My Wildest Dream from Pinker and Prouder Than Previous. I'll try saying that whenever you're half cut. And this is a very hypnotic type melodic song. It's got a guitar loop through it, which actually sounds like a keyboard. And I'm not 100% sure if it is guitar, but I'm more or less, well, I believe it to be guitar, and it's catchy as hell. It's one of my all-time favorite Nick Lowe songs, and that album, Pinker and Prouder, is probably my favorite Nick Lowe album. I think it's fantastic. And there's a really good keyboard part in it as well, but it's just so melodic, and I love it, and I guess my number 9.
Yeah, I like that track as well. I think you've got to have that punch to get, especially when you're buying it for the first time. You need that punch to get you. Oh, if it starts a bit, you go, oh, this is not going to be very good. But it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? It's punchy. It's got some
Yes.
great little runs in it. Very, very good track and a very good choice. My number 9 is from 2004, and it's Muse and their Absolution album when they were good, and it's called Intro and Apocalypse Please. Now the intro is just like marching, and then you get this great boom, boom, bam, and there's some lovely keyboards in it. It's when Muse could create fantastic songs. It's probably only about the third song I'd ever heard by Muse, and it's absolutely terrific. And that is my number 9. And it doesn't very often that I mention Muse in good tones, but that one I do.
Were Muse the band that did the first Twilight film?
Yeah, they did this. They did some music for Twilight, and yes, it's not too bad, that song.
No, I haven't mind that at all. Well, my number 8's from 1985, and it's a band I very rarely talk about. And it's Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, and the song is Rich, and it's from their Easy Pieces album. It starts off with drums, and then it goes into the full band with horns, and it's the best track off the album. It has got a magnificent, catchy, almost slightly laid back and smooth chorus. It's just a wonderful song. I could never understand why it wasn't released as a single, even though the singles off the album are actually quite good. It's an album that I didn't really like when I got, but now it has grown on me so much. I think it's their best album nearly, that or Rattlesnakes. But Rich is a brilliant track, again, full of horns, but you've got Lloyd Cole's smooth voice, and especially, as I say, during the chorus, it sounds great. So that's my number 8.
Well, I don't know that track, but I will do by the end of the day because when I put the playlist together. So I'll take your word for it. I mean, for me, Lloyd Cole, I was more just like the hits. You know, I've got greatest hits. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to that one. Now you'll know this one, my number 8. This is from 1976, and it's from Queen, and it's from the day of the races, and of course, it's "Tie Your Mother Down." I love that that grandeur, and then you get that. I think it's one of the greatest openings of any Queen album they ever made. It's a great song, and I'm wish they had opened like that at a show with all the grandeur and the doon 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 doon. I mean, I think they do it with Adam Lambert. I think they've done it once, but I would have loved to have seen it with Freddie and John.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of my favourite songs by Queen, "Tie Your Mother Down." It's incredible, and that is my number 8.
That would be a really good concert song. So it would.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them do it. I think when I saw them on the Magic Tour, it was second track after One Vision. And the way they you know, they went One Vision, and then all of a sudden it went dum 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 dum. So it literally went into it, and that worked as well. Absolutely terrific.
Well, my number 7 is from Cockney Rebel in 1974, and it's from the Psychomoto album. And the song is Sweet Dreams, but this is a case where I'm gluing two songs together. Sweet Dreams going into Psychomoto. Now, it starts off with orchestral sound effects, which all sort of collapse. And then you get the drums, the keyboards, and the violins coming in. And then Steve Harley's first vocals are "Try Saying This When You've Got a Skin Full, Pop Paper, People Printing, Rebel, Insane." That's worse than Peter Piper picked
Yeah.
But it's a very short song. It's only about 2 minutes long, but it immediately goes in the Psychomoto, which starts off with drums and then that scratchy violin, because there's no guitars in that album. It was all done through violin. It was the third album before Courtney Rebel brought in a guitarist, and it's magnificent. And so Sweet Dreams, Stroke Sakamoto gets my number 7.
Yeah, I like that track as well. It's one of them deep cut Cockney Rebel tracks, isn't it? That if you're not, if you're only into the greatest hits of Cockney Rebel, you're not going to have heard this. And that album is terrific because, if you said it's there's no guitars on it. They just and there's violin in it. Some of the violin solos are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, my number 7 is one of my favourite bands again, Marillion, and the album Fugazi. And I'm sure you've heard this song, Assassin.
Yes, that was the single. I can remember that.
Yeah. Now the single it just starts dun 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 dun, but on the album you get all this sort of mystic Eastern timbre of drums and Fish doing this with Then Ian Mosley starts picking up the beat, and then Mark Kelly's keyboards coming, and then it comes into the bit that's on the 7-inch single. Great opening, great live opening of the show, because you get the lights and the crowd start when they're doing that rolling drum for me and Mosley. The crowd start going, and then the band come on, and it just explodes. It's just a great song, Assassin. Anyway, it's got a great keyboard solo. It's got a great guitar solo. It's just everything you can want in a Marillion song.
Very good. Well, my number 6 is from 1975, and it's Sparks from their Indiscreet album, and it's Hospitality on Parade. And this starts off quite slow. It's sort of got keyboards and some sort of piano and keyboards, and Russell is actually singing it quite slow, and then it starts to progress, and there's good backing vocals on it, and then about a minute and a half into the song, crunch, the guitar comes in, and you feel like getting off your seat and marching all around the room because it's an absolutely brilliant song, and love it to bits. It's my favourite Sparks album, and it's Hospitality on Parade.
Great choice. Absolutely great choice. I think Sparks is you either love them or hate them, and I'm in the camp. I love them. I mean, I love their new album. I think it is absolutely brilliant. Great choice again. My number 6 is from my favourite band of all time, Status Quo. But I'm going back to 1972 and the Pile Driver album. And one of my favourite songs, and one of my favourite song of my late friend Gary, and this is why this is in here. Don't Waste My Time.
Yeah,
absolutely killer track. It's raw as you come. That was just plug in and go. And even though the live version I've seen them perform, it's that original recording is just one of the best recordings, especially that bit when they go doing in the middle. Absolutely brilliant track, and I love that track to death.
Yeah, excellent song. Very good album as well.
I'll drive it. It's the rawest album they ever made.
It's not as heavy as you think, though.
No, but it's raw.
Well, my number 5 is a slow one, I'm afraid, but it's only about 2 minutes long, and it's from 1971, and it's called The Wind from Cat Stevens' Teaser and the Firecat album. Now, this is another one where it goes into another track, this time called Ruby Love. But The Wind starts off just beautiful acoustic picking, a little bit similar to Simon & Garfunkel's Sound of Silence. But Cat Stevens' vocals are absolutely beautiful, and the way he drops his voice, into bass, very, very, at the end of each verse, is absolutely magnificent. And as I say, after the 2 minutes, you go into the more upbeat Ruby Love with, I'm not too sure what the instrument is, but it's some sort of Turkish type instrument, but it's a fantastic song as well. But together, those two songs are magnificent, and that gets my number 5.
Great choice. It's I mean, what a lot of your choices. I love the songs. And that's one of my favourite starts of a Cat Stevens song. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely terrific. Okay, my number 5 is from 1971. Now, I could have chosen a lot from Pink Floyd as my favourite opening track, but I've gone for Medal. And one of these days, I just love that howling wind, and then Rogers boom, 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 on the bass, and that thumpy bass line, and then the bit, one of these days I'm going to cut you up into little pieces. It's terrific live. It's just got so much atmosphere, and you've got to play it loud. You don't play that track quietly. It's just absolutely classic guitar, slide guitar, or from Dave Gilmour. Absolutely killer track. What will I say about it? It's just fantastic.
It is very good. It's got a very galloping sort of feel to it. I think ELO tried to copy that a little bit with their track Daybreaker from On the Third Day. I think it's got a little bit One of These Days vibe, but yeah, great choice. Well, my number 4 is from 1978, and it's from Elvis Costello's This Year's Model, and the track is called No Action. Now, it starts off with Elvis singing a line, and then bang, it goes into this crazy drumming, and it's right in your face. And it's only 2 minutes long, but it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The keys are going all over the place. It is, again, a melodic song, but a brilliant opener. I think the opening line is something like, I don't want to kiss you, I don't want to touch you, and then off we go. And 2 minutes of in your face brilliance. So that's my number.
That's one of my favourite songs from Elvis Costello, actually. It's just terrific, isn't it? It's a great opening, a wow, you know. I mean, most of his opening tracks have always got that punch, haven't they? He delivers that punch every time. Great choice. Okay, my number 4 is from Black Sabbath, but it's none of the Aussie stuff.
All right.
This is from 1980. So Ronnie James Dio has joined the band. So we all went and brought Heaven and Hell, put it on, and were blown away by Neon Lights, a song that really revitalized the band. It's hard, it's heavy. You know, we was all a bit. I mean, go there. You know, 1980, we was a bit worried. Ozzy gone. We knew Ronnie, but no, we weren't upset. We were just going, God, this is good. And I love Neon now. It's absolutely brilliant. It's got a great guitar solo from Tony, who seems more energized. So, yeah, it's a great track.
Don't know it, but I take your word for it. I actually do have 2 Black Sabbath albums, you know. I've got the first one, and which I bought out of curiosity, and I really enjoyed it. And then I bought their Greatest Hits, which is actually very good as well. But I really only bought that for Paranoid, but still, it's a good album. Well, my number 3 is Queen, but instead of a day at the races, I've gone for a night at the opera with Death on Two Legs, and going into Sunday afternoon, or lazing on a Sunday afternoon, which is completely different to Death on Two Legs, but it works so well. I think it's a ferocious start to an album, then going into almost 1920 song, which I think is a mark of genius, and absolutely love it. It's a really, really good track, and it's one of my favorites off the album. So everybody knows it. So it's my number 3.
Yeah, you couldn't do one without the other, to be quite honest, because it's that contrast, isn't it? I mean, Death of Two Legs is about one of their managers or something, isn't it?
It's a real scathing attack on his manager.
Yeah, so yeah, great choice. I mean, like say on a Sunday afternoon, that lovely overdub key guitar solo from Brian. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, you've heard of my number 3. This again is from 1980. From Motorhead and the Ace of Spades. Absolute killer track. I mean, the first time I heard that was, I think it was on Top of the Pops. Absolutely dum 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 dum. And I went and brought it, and I got the album. And there's not much you can say about the Ace of Spades. It's one of the most recognised tracks, isn't it?
It's fantastic. And you know where it was so effective? On the young ones, whenever they were playing it in the boys' front room.
Yeah, and that rap.
They're going absolutely mad. It was brilliant. And the whole effect of it was fantastic. No, that's a fantastic choice. I couldn't include it because I wasn't allowed singles. My number 2 is another rousing one. It starts off with one drum thump, and then really crashing guitars. And it's from The Clash, 1978's Give 'Em Enough Rope, and the song is called Safe European Home, which I think is, oh, magnificent. And then it goes into Tommy Gun, although I don't put those two together. It's just Tommy Gun's my favourite Clash song, and Safe European Home would be in my top five as well. So it's an absolute blinding opener, and it is brutal with the guitars, fantastic. And Joe Strummer's voice is great on it as well. So that gets my number two.
Yeah, love that album, full stop. It's a great album. And the opening two tracks are just quality.
Mm-hmm. If you look at Safe European Home and compare it to the opener of the debut album, Janie Jones, now most people do prefer the debut album, I don't. Safe European Home is more polished. It's a more polished affair. It's not as raw as the first one, but it just works so well. And that's why I've got it at number two.
Okay, my number two is another from 1980. See, 1980 was a year that really influenced me. It's from one of the new wave of British heavy metal bands again, from Saxon, off Strong Arm of the Law, and it's Heavy Metal Thunder, which sort of defined the word heavy metal. It's got the double guitar, it's got the great drum rolls, and Biff is just absolutely on fire. And he still sings it the same gutso that he did in 1980.
Does he still wear all the makeup now?
No, he doesn't. He's got long, wavy grey hair. They're still absolutely a killer band to see live, and they're still pumping out quality heavy metal. They have got such a longevity, I think. They're absolutely killer. But that track, Heavy Metal Thunder, was just a song of, I mean, Strong Arm of the Law, the album itself is just iconic, but Heavy Metal Thunder just, it's heavy metal, you know.
I actually liked a few of their singles. There's one, I think it was called I Am, I'm Me. I always thought it was brilliant.
I Am, I'm Me's Twisted Sister.
Ah, right. Sorry, I am getting completely confused. Yeah. Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, Saxon, isn't it? You're talking about?
Yeah, the British band.
Right. They were, and the band played.
Played on, yeah.
That's the one. Right. My mistake. Well, my number one, and it starts off with Cicely Courtnage from the film The L-Shaped Room, singing "Take Me Back to Dear Old Blighty." And a keyboard effect comes in, and then it's the Smiths, The Queen is Dead from 1986. And once that drum comes in, and then you get Johnny Marr's brilliant crunching guitar and the most underrated bass player that passed away last year, or might even been this year, Andy Rourke. His bass is brilliant on it. And Morrissey's lyrics are hilarious. It's really, really funny, and it's just a fantastic track. Now, you may say that was a single that was released to Record Store Day a few years ago. I don't count that. That was just for collectors. But it's a brilliant, brilliant track, and it gets my number one. And I can't believe I didn't include it in my very first video. I must have just missed it. I hope I didn't include it, but I don't think I did. So that gets my number.
It's sticking two fingers up, isn't it?
It is, I know, but yeah, so some of the lyrics are so funny. It really is funny.
Yeah.
So I broke it with a sponge and a rusty spanner. She said, I know you cannot sing. That's nothing. You should hear me play piano. It's just really good.
Yeah, so great. Yeah, how they used Take You Back to Blighty is absolutely superb. And Andy Rourke, should have got more praise than he ever did, because he was one of the best bass players of that sort of indie. Yep. I would say he's the best indie rock bass player. He could work them fingers. He wasn't just bump, bump, bump. It was good. You watch the videos or any live, his fingers are all over the place. He was a brilliant. Yeah, but what a great choice. I think I've mentioned my number one on here before. Well, I've mentioned the album, 1970. Deep Purple. In Rock.
That's Speed King.
It is Speed King, yes. Put the needle down and you get all that noise. Then John Lord's Very nice little keyboard comes in, and then Ian Gillan just screeches his way through. Absolute amazing track from an amazing album, but boy, is that just blow your ears out track. I just love Speed King.
A good song, it really is. And it's a good album as well. I still think Machine Head is their best, but and I also like I have three Purple albums, that In Rock and Fireball. But Fireball is a very
Yeah, it's very
album.
underrated. It was a very rushed album. I think EMI wanted another album, and they were never happy with some of them songs, but I like the album.
Well, I have three bubbling unders, which I'll fire through for you very quickly. T-Rex from 1974, Venus Loon from Zinc Alloy, which is second best track on the album behind Teenage Dream. It's almost a riff song, a good way to open the album. A bit of a disappointing album, although, as I said before in a previous video, it does grow on you. I'm also going from 1981 and a synth classic, and it's from the Human League, and it's The Things That Dreams Are Made Of from Dare, which I think is a magnificent track. Should have been a single, never was, but it's a brilliant opener to the album. It just shows the quality of the album, that a song like that was not released as a single. Normally in the early 80s, I would have thought Love Action would have been the opener to the album, because it really is an excellent single, and it would have been a good opener. But The Things That Dreams Are Made Of is better, and it wasn't released, so it gets picked. And my third one is from 1981 again, and it's Kirsty MacColl, and the song is called Clock Goes Round, and it's from her Desperate Character album, which is an album of various different styles. You get a lot of 50s type music, but this is straight ahead, fast, new wave, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And again, wasn't a single, and it's one of my favourite Kirsty MacColl songs. So those are my only three bubbling unders.
Great choices. I mean, the Human League. I mean, I love the version that's on that Love and Dance in the instrumental album.
Never heard that album.
Oh,
Never heard.
I've got that. It is absolutely great. It's forgotten about, but it just shows the skill of that band and the talent that was in there. Listen to them as instrumentals. You can hear the words even in the music. Great choices. Well, I've got five, so I'll quickly go through mine. My first one's from 1982, from Rush, off the Signals album, and it's the brilliant Subdivisions, which is one of my favourite Rush songs ever. I just love. This is when the keyboards were coming in, but it's got such a great keyboard. It was my ringtone on my phone for many, many years. My next one from 1977, ELO, Out of the Blue, Turn to Stone. This just missed out on my top 10. I love the start of that. I love that fast and harmonizing thing. It's just a great opening track. How it comes in, that swirl and the build-up. Brilliant track. My third one's from 1980 again, and it's from Yes, the album Drama and Machine Messiah. I love that from Steve Howe. Terrific. Now, this next one you probably never heard of, from 2007, and it's from Nightwish, and it's the first album with Annette Olsen. The album is called Dark Passion Play, and it's the brilliant, the Poet and Pendulum. It starts off, it's orchestral, it's got operatic, and then it just goes on to, it's a long track, but it's absolutely brilliant. What a way to introduce a new singer to the band. She got a lot of stick because she wasn't Tarja. Fans didn't like her, but I thought she was a terrific song. And my last one, a song that I've mentioned before, 1983, Mike Oldfield, and it practically takes up side one of the Crisis, and it is Crisis. And I think that is just a brilliant song, one of his best of the 80s.
That's good. I enjoy that a lot more than I used to. I think it's a very good track. So nice way to...
Well, there you go. It was, so we said it'd be a bit different, but they're, you know, I think it's a personal thing. This is, isn't it? It's not what thing. So if you enjoy that one, do you know what we're doing next time? We're doing closing tracks from our favourite albums. And the difference in mine is that none of these artists will be featured.
Well, I have done the closing facts video before. If you want to check the previous videos, please go to my channel, click like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah.
If
But
I
I'll
thought
look.
I'd never hear you say that, Richard.
No, I'm doing it in your channel.
And don't forget, ring that, see, hit the bell because you get. Yeah, I don't
Uh,
do that very often.
and I'll be doing the drawing of this my contest today, so I don't know which will be up first, this video or mine.
Probably
But no,
yours.
I'll be looking at that video, and I'm going to go through exactly the same. No singles, can't use the same artist, can't use the same songs. So it'll be fun for me. It'll be more challenging.
Yeah. So once again, Richard, these are always a blast. I'm gonna have a well, I'm not going to be going out anywhere this weekend. The weather's just awful. So we're going to just catch up one bit. So I'll be back on Monday, and I'm going to be doing Vanilla Fudge, and we're going to do something to make us feel summery. Our classic albums for August are all reggae.
All right, very
And we're
good.
going to start off with the Heptones and the brilliant Cool Master album, which is an absolute belter. So it only leaves me to say thank you very much, Richard. So looking forward to our next episode. And it's goodbye from me.
That's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Bye.